Hello everyone, and welcome back to DGBA Poison Point. Today, we have our Week 3 game, where we're looking to bounce back from last week's disappointment at the hands of a interior and some overall tilting. These things happen, but it's how you react is what makes a difference. Today, we take on Lucas, and this is someone that I know very well. We teamed together in DCL last season, and he's just a really chill guy and a very good player, especially with the right sort of archetype, which the team that he has is Valley. It also includes a Dragapult, a mon that I do not understand why it was allowed, but that's not my problem. Well, it is my problem for this week, because I have to figure out ways to deal with it, but it's not my problem long term. I mean, it's still a giant threat here though, especially in conjunction with some other pieces. Cinderace, I think, could be annoying, solely because my fire resists aren't amazing. It can Super Fang down Almamola, or if it wants to be incredibly suicidal, it could go the SD double edge route. Neither of which I respond to super well, so I'm gonna have to be careful around. Cinderace is annoying when you have two of the top Terra Captains, because you just know that Choice Scarf Terra Stellar is coming, and it kind of just ruins a lot of my fun, and I don't like that. So the quicker I can get that dead, the better. So we'll see what I can do. Rotom has to come on his end because of Torn Alamola and Gliscor, so that's just an inevitability. It's more an annoyance than a threat, but still here. Crocodile also has to come because it's his best ghost resist in the entire matchup, and it might have to be his rocker here, depending on his 6th launch choice. Pokemon Cornerstone with an SD set is something that I find incredibly threatening here, because the dual stab combination as well as knockoff quite potent. But he could opt for Bronzong instead because of its ability to deal with Monster Horn. And Iron Defense sets here are pretty threatening if I'm not careful. So overall, despite that, it's a matchup I still like. I have some really, difficult bits for him to break through, and I also have some offensive prowess of my own. Unfortunately, what I did not have was a huge amount of time to prep this week. That happens, life gets in the way, but even with, a quicker build than I would have liked, I still really like what I was able to put together and think it was more than capable of winning the game. Let's jump into what I actually put together. We start here with Jirachi, and we're rocking a red card this week, which I feel like is an item I don't bring that often. But the idea behind it was relatively simple. If I'm able to get rocks up, it allows pivot in on Cinderace and take that thing out of the game and give it an extra round of rocks chip, because I know Scarf is coming here. It also allows me to get out an SD Ogerpon if I switch it in on an Ivy Cudgel. It must be important. I also wanted a consumable item here for the sake of knockoff Ogerpon. We've gone with a set here of Iron Head, U-Turn, Thunderwave, and Encore. Iron Head for general stab and help with Enam, U-Turn to get out of the matchups I don't like, Thunderwave to catch aggressive switch-ins of mons like Cinderace, and Encore for the aforementioned Iron Defense Bronzong. It also could come into play versus Rotom, but it is predominantly for the Bronzong here. For the spread, we have enough bulk to be able to take 2 Scarf Earth Powers. The defense is for Ogerpon Calcs, as I mentioned, and we have a tiny bit of speed here in case the Rotom wants to get a little bit creative in terms of its speed creep, and then just the rest in attack we could add. That speed tier also, I believe, allowed me to outspeed a paralyzed Cinderace. The more you know. We get to Alamola, and we're finally taking a leaf out of Who's book here and bringing an Assault Vest set with Flip Turn, Aqua Jet, Mirror Coat, and Play Rough. The spread itself, the set itself, is pretty self-explanatory. Those first 3 moves are an essential on an AV Aloe a lot of the time, and Play Rough is there in case it tries to get cheeky with Dragapult. The spread means that I take 2 modest Life Orb Thunderbolts from said Dragapult, and I have that bit of defense in there as well to help with Cinderace. And also Crocodile, but this is not my switch into Crook, because I kind of need the Assault Vest. This thing is a giant pain in the arse for him to kill, and I intend it as such. We get the Gliscor, and Gliscor's rocking a Toxic Orb, and fairly standard stuff here. This is my rocker, and we also have Earthquake for just general stab and hit Cinderace. U-turn to get on out of there, and the matchups I don't like are predominantly Rotom Wash and Bronzong, and Toxic for said Rotom Wash, also Crocodile, also works for an Enam that tries to get cheeky and switching on me. The bulk here is for Ogerpon, Ivy Cudgel, if not Terrid. The little bit of attack was, or I believe it was Dragapult. Might have been max HP Dragapult. I don't remember. And oh no, it was for Ogerpon, I think. Yeah, it was for Ogerpon Calcs. A little bit of speed. I hit the 237 mark. Just in case. Hit that. And a little bit of Spadef helped with uninvested Rotom Hydro Pump. Then get a Miss Mag. And as I mentioned in the team breakdown bit, he only has one Ghost Resist. Therefore, Garf Miss Mag makes a ton of sense. Shadow Ball, Trick, Energy Ball, and Destiny Ball. Shadow Ball and Energy Ball are the only attacks that I need here because of Ghost's general spam ability, and Energy Ball hitting both Rotom and Crook. Trick, in case there is any awkward situations, for example, the Iron Defense Bronzong, or something like a SD Cinderace to slow that down. But I'm more likely to click Destiny Bond in front of it. We'll get to that time. We have gone with a Max Pressure type Modest here and enough speed to outspeed Dragapult, our choice Scarf. This is probably my late game cleaner, all going well, and I fully think that I'm able to position it to the point where Mismag. Time to get to the Terra, boys. We start off with Torn, and yes, that is another Assault Vest, and we've gone with Terra Fairy here because it's my best bet of dealing with the Dragapult. We've gone with Hurricane instead of Bleak Wind Storm because giving Enam a contrary boost does not sound like a good idea. Terra Blast Fairy because it's a general reliable coverage option here. Knockoff to get rid of key items, predominantly on the Rotom, and U-turn to get on out of there in the unfavorable matchups. The spread is just a good, nice regen number, enough speed to outspeed Cinderace, and then the little bit left back. Overall, Torn is yet another mon to add to the list of mons he just really does not appreciate dealing with here. And I intend to use it as such. His best bet is like Wave Hex Pult, I think, and get lucky. So if I would like to avoid that scenario, but if that means it's taking a Terra Blast Fairy to the face, then I am happy out. We then get to Zarude. And Zarude is a bit of a weird one here. Yes, it's my best switch into Rotom, but it does have a difficult time because of Scarf Enam's existence. So what was my workaround? Maybe just not tearing it, or only tearing it in very specific circumstances, such as versus Cinderace or Dragapult. So we've gone with a Lumberry here, which means I can use Rotom as setup fodder. And we've gone with Terra Fire to deal with the stuff that I mentioned. Set here is relatively straightforward. Swords Dance, Knockoff, Power Whip, and Trailblaze. I don't actually need any additional coverage, and maybe I could have gone for Terra Blast Fire here, but Enam is not defensively strong enough to the point where it can actually deal with these attacks. So all I need is Stab. And we've gone with the exact same spread as with Mismag, because they just need to hit the exact same speed here. Anyways, that is the 6 that I put together, and now it's time we hop into the battle. We get into the game here, and there's no surprises. He just goes with his top 6. So it means I don't have to deal with Iron Defense Bronzong. That is a win. So I'm feeling pretty good here, looking at team preview. And I won't show the Terras past turn 1, because, you know, it's Terra Rock and the Ogerpon, obviously. And the Enam, to the shock of absolutely nobody, is Terra Stellar. So I know I need to get rocks up ASP. So I'm going to try to use that opportunity to get the Gliscor. Let's hop into it. I lead Gliscor as he leads with his Ogerpon Cornerstone. He gets up spikes as I U-turn out, trying to get Chip expecting an SD. I go Torn because I know Hurricane applies some pressure, but I U-turn out instead because I'm a bit of a pussy. But he gets me Zarude in versus Rotom, which is great. He goes Ogerpon Cornerstone as I click Trailblaze. Happy days. And by turn 5, the Ogerpon's dead for the sake of a spike. I'm delighted with this start, because I now have a +2 speed Zarude on the field that he has to respect. Happy days. There's a speed boost, and in comes the Enam. I know what's coming here, so I'm pivoting to my AV Torn. And because this thing isn't Terra'd yet, Terra Terra Blast does nothing, and that's his one-time use gone. I know that knocking off the Scarf makes my life easier, so that's exactly what I do. Then I just U-turn out for regen. I go Jirachi, and you're about to see a really funny thing. He clicks Agility. I don't know why he had Agility, and it leads to me having a bit of a stupid moment right afterwards. But it was pretty funny to see in game, especially after the Choice Scarf getting knocked off. I don't know what was on this set, but, you know, I probably should have asked him. I don't know how he managed to fit Agility, because surely you'd... It's probably over the Healing Wish slot, which I don't mind that whatsoever. But, yeah, I was just trying to red card this thing out, even though I don't even have rocks up yet, but that didn't quite work out, and I did it. So he clicks Agility, gets a speed drop, and I click Encore. Why? Because I wasn't really sure what to do. I didn't really want to Iron Head, because it kind of felt too, like, nothing. But Iron Head was always smarter than Encore, so... And I didn't want to U-turn out solely because U-turning out into another Terra Blast just puts me in a really bad spot, because it means he's chipping Alomola, and I don't like that. Because I could have gone Torn again, and it would have lived just fine and threatened with Hurricane. I just didn't like that positioning. So I did a stupid, like Encore instead. But U-turn here would have just got me back in his Rude, and it probably just claims another kill. Or it forces really nice chip onto Cinderace. Either or, I would have been delighted. But U-turn out here. As I say, damn it, I didn't get funny. I go Gliscor, he gets Reflect up. And here's screens again. God, I'm so sick of screens this gen. That's another topic for time. I went into Gliscor trying to catch an aggressive Volt Switch, because I knew I wanted my rocks up here, but I didn't know what the Cinderace was, and rocks chip on Enam would just be nice. I do get up my rocks here, taking a Hydro Pump in the process, and I live because of my Spadef investment. I don't really need this thing anyways, so I don't mind, because Scarf Crook is never winning. I go for Toxic and I miss, which sucks, because it means he gets a light screen up quicker, but I guess it means I stall a turn of screens. I go for U-turn into Alomola. T clicks Hydro Pump, doing absolutely nothing. And then Volt switches out, critting me, which is annoying. Because I definitely could have killed his Enam right here, if I wanted to with Mirror Coat, but Flip Turn was always my play. And I crit him back, which I don't really think matters. I go for Hurricane, get the kill in the Enam, and in comes Cinderace. And I know this is a problem. We see Boots immediately, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna knock off the Boots first. That's what I do. He clicks SD, I'm like, okay, that's fine. I can revenge this. You know, I have a Scarfer, which, yes, this is his Ghost Check at the minute. But, like, I have a Scarfer that can do damage. I have Torn to be able to chip it. I should be fine. The next play, I possibly should have Hurricane and taken my damage, but I wanted to U-turn out here because taking that hit would be a bit problematic, especially when I have an easy Gliscor sack. So I go for my easy Gliscor. No, I don't. I go Jirachi, trying to catch a +2 double edge and red carding it out, especially since I had the Boots gun. He clicks Agility, and now I'm in trouble because if I don't position the red card right here, I instantly lose. So I sack Gliscor. Shock. And in comes Alomola, because it has to. And my pivot was wrong here. It shouldn't have been Jirachi. It potentially should have been Mismag, actually. I don't know. Or I could have just flip turned there, because Light Screen was going away. It was a tricky one anyways. But I go for this. He clicks SD again. So now I definitely live. I sat this thing because I don't even live +4 double edge at this point. So there's no point actually keeping this around. And then I go Alomola, and instead of Aqua Jetting, this crit I don't think mattered, by the way. I'm pretty sure I still outright died, but Aqua Jetting would have been a hell of a lot smarter because it put me in a position that would have been just fine. And I'll get into that in a sec. Because you can see from the recoil he takes. I go Torn, he Pyro Balls and kills me. Yeah, I'm just sacking everything, because I know the game's over at this point, because I've misplayed it. goes a Rude, Terrifier in vain, he double edged. And you can look, he finishes at 18. I'm pretty sure Aqua Jet did about that amount of damage, which meant if I Aqua Jetted, I could have gone Zarude immediately and tried to play the 50-50 of, am I going to Terra, am I not going to Terra? I think he double edges me regardless. And if I'm able to keep my Terra Fairy, I don't necessarily even have to keep my Terra Fairy here, because he has a Rotom at 60% that all I can do is click screens. So all that can happen is that, you know, this thing dies, and then he's dealing with Mismag plus Torn. And that might have been pull backable, but at the end of the day, the Cinderace put in too much work, and my positioning around it just wasn't enough. And, like, yes, this was an unfortunate game to lose, but I don't think there was a lot I could do here. This was just a well-prepped set on Lucas's part, and recognizing that screens into this thing was just going to be a problem. And this made me have a bit of a realization, and I think it's time we get it now. I think we all know what's coming when you hear this music in the background. Without further ado, let's talk free agency. Because this team has its problems. A big one that's come up in the last 2 weeks is screens. And screens into a setup threat or just an immediate potent threat that I don't have the offensive power on this team to actually get through. We saw that with the Serb last week, and we've seen it again here with the Cinderace. So I was in a bit of a bind because I didn't think the middle of my draft was capable of ripping up for the sake of breakers. Therefore, I went a different approach and decided that tweaking the bottom end to making it more viable, well, I say viable, more bringable in matchups, I think was the correct play. Therefore, I've dropped Carbink and Muck for Suing Quillfish and Electivire. Now, Suing Quillfish is not a surprise. This is a mon that I explicitly mentioned in the draft analysis of I would have liked if I had an extra point. And therefore, I found a way to get the extra point. Muck just did not seem like it was going to be bringable whatsoever. So I felt that having the extra options the Quillfish provides is super critical, as well as also being another spiker that felt more bringable than Carbink on a consistent basis, meaning that I could free up Gliscor from the hazard rolls that it's been kind of forced into the last couple of weeks, making my game plans extremely predictable for my opponents. And I've been exploited for that, and as I should be. Then, obviously, I needed the extra point, and I had one possible route, which I might hang on to and push the button on that at a later stage. I haven't fully made my mind up. So instead, I decided that Carbon could go. And what I needed was to keep the flying resist, but I was going to opt for an electric type, because there's a variety of fast electrics that I need to deal with between now and the end of the season, and I still needed some offensive power. So therefore, I went against what I would typically do in this slot, which is get Ampharos, and went for Electivire instead. It actually has some really nice matchups from now to the end of the season, so I'm kind of hoping that it forces prep at the very least, or I can bring it and it can do some work. Overall, I think the team benefits from these two moves because it gives me more options and I don't feel as forced in very particular routes. I also had a free Terra Captain slot open up with my decision to drop Carbink. It still needed to cost no extra to Terra though, so therefore I decided to put it on Alomomola. Which, will I ever use it? Probably not. But it's there for bluffs. It could help in very niche circumstances. So that was why I made that decision. Overall, these last couple weeks, I've been very disappointed by. They've just not been games that I've been particularly proud of to stand behind and particularly record them right afterwards. So I'm looking to bounce back, and I hope that these two moves can help in that regard. Anyways guys, I hope that you have enjoyed this video. And I will catch you next week for week 4, where we hope to redeem ourselves a little bit. Take care, guys. Peace.